Hey guys, what's up? Today's review is about Ys Origin, one of the most underrated JRPGs on the series. Oh yeah. And look, I have good news for you. I put some tape in their damn mouth so they won't interrupt my reviews anymore. How's that, huh?
I actually do talk, Eric, just in case you actually didn't know,
First thing you should know is that this game is almost everywhere. Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and the PS Vita. I'm surprised that there wasn't a Google Stadia version or something, or a release on mobile phones, but it originally came out for PC all the way back in 2006. So the version I'll be reviewing today is basically its remaster available for modern platforms. Developed by Nihon Falcom and remastered by Dotemu. This is the prequel to the entire series, but it takes place 700 years before all of the rest, which means it obviously doesn't star adult Kristen. Instead, a dual protagonist feature comes around, Yunica and Hugo. Beat the game with both, and you'll unlock a third protagonist known as the Claw. Demons have invaded the city of Ys where two goddesses reign. So they built a giant temple to save the people and raised it high into the sky. But the damn demons also did the same with an enormous tower called the Devil's Tower to reach them. After that, the goddesses disappeared and the priests of Ys decide to establish a search party to find them. Of course, Yunica and Hugo are amongst the search party. So regardless of the character you choose, as you can only play as one for the entire game, the adventure will take place inside the tower. The whole adventure. Yup, no overworlds, no forests, dungeons, not even towns. Which makes it basically a dungeon crawler, but obviously not in first person. The bottom floor, however, will always be your base of operations, where you can talk to NPCs and upgrade your weapons. To do that, you need Cleria ore, which you'll find out there in the tower, but it's rare. In fact, the equipment system in this game is almost identical to the one in the first several Ys games. You have a limited inventory where you'll store different weapons, armor, accessories, and items, but can only equip one of each. Most of these have elemental attributes and are necessary to fight certain enemies or bosses or withstand terrain damage or some types of attacks. Eventually, you'll also get a teleportation feature, so when you go back to base, you can return to the last floor you visited at any time. And in these statues, you will also have the option to select a blessing. Each costs a certain amount of SP, points you'll get by defeating enemies and bosses. They're very useful and a major help in the game because, as you may have guessed it, this is one punishing son of a bitch. You do have an experience system and level up, so you can grind till your heart's content or till you get capped. But it's more of a get good type of game, instead of a power level monster. Yunica will use axes and swords in fast-paced combat but melee, as in close range. Her route is a bit more challenging because of this. Hugo feels like a shoot 'em up because he's a mage that shoots magic bullets out of his wand. I won't show any gameplay of the third character to avoid spoilers. As you make progress by exploring around and killing enemies, both characters will rely more and more on their native abilities, which may vary depending on their equipment. For example, Yunica can do this whirlwind attack at the cost of points, which I love, simply because it makes fighting even faster and more satisfactory. But there's also a boost meter. Once it fills up over time, which allows you to buff your character greatly temporarily, controls for all three characters are outstanding. They feel natural, a bit chaotic for Yunica, but overall with near perfect hit detection. Now, most of the exploration and fighting will be done in overviews or top-down views perspectives, but sometimes the camera might switch to a different angle for different areas, like the bosses for example. These ones are ridiculously hard, but it's all about learning their patterns and, well, getting good, like I mentioned. Fuck this guy though, he can kiss my goddamn Mexican ass for all I care. So there's platforming involved, and sometimes it can get quite tricky with the double jump or dash abilities. I'm not saying you need to perfect them, but it can get very frustrating missing a good jump or falling, only to try and make your way up again. Platforming has been a mechanic since the third entry in the series, which I don't resent but instead greatly enjoy. I think it adds more to the pacing and helps you break away from the repetitive nature of just running around killing monsters. But yeah, what I mean to say is that the game is also quite hard because of this feature. The graphics here are a product of their time, meaning 2006, and the remaster only upscaled them without changing anything, just the aspect ratio of the screen, which depends on the version you're playing. Barely any differences exist between versions in this department because the remaster still utilizes the slightly retro graphics from the original, so you'll be fine with any version out there. Artistically speaking though, they're fantastic, with great use of colors in some areas, but they stand out more in specific parts of the game and of course with some of the boss fights. But a big chunk of the tower looks a bit bland, to be honest. They could have done a better job with some of the backgrounds. Music, I don't even need to say how awesome it is, because Falcom rarely disappoints in that. Takahiro Unisuga stands out from the rest of the composers, as always, with some heavy bangers and incredible guitar riffs. Although it isn't as good as other Ys games, the music here is still fantastic. All in all, this is a great JRPG. It doesn't take long to complete, and it depends more on your playstyle and difficulty settings. A good run on easy or normal with only one protagonist might fetch you about 15 hours or so. Problem is, the tower layout and floors you'll visit are almost identical regardless of the character you choose. Sure, they all have their own story, but even the bosses are mostly the same. So there's not that much appeal in beating the game with all three, especially not in a row. I'd say beat it with one and wait a long time to pick it up again to complete it with another. It's a really fun, addicting and intense game with some serious challenges. Repetitive, sure, because of the lack of more traditional JRPG elements, such as town exploration, an overworld and the usual shops, but it stands out in other areas big time, like its combat, exploration and epic boss fights. Not a masterpiece and certainly not one of the best Ys games out there, but if you like the series or fast-paced action RPGs, this is an absolute must-play. So that's Ys Origin for you. Like I said, definitely an absolute must-play. Now no one can talk anymore. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Oh, fuck.